Right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much to Mr. Stickles and the Jazz Band for keeping us entertained. And welcome to the Olafia Cultural Centre, also known for today's purposes as Plan B. It's been a fairly hurried morning as we've made alternative arrangements. But good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special reunion assembly as we gather together as the boys, staff, and old collegians of the oldest boys' school in KZN, and we pay tribute to and celebrate the bonds that link us all together. Today we will start the celebrations of the 125th reunion of the Maritzburg College Old Boys Association, and on behalf of college, I offer an especially warm welcome to our president of the Old Boys Association, Mr. Andrew Clayton, of the class of 1991, to our other special guest, Mr. Mike Hill, of the class of 1961, to Mr. Modise Sefume, of the class of 2008, 10, thank you, and lastly to Mr. Jesse Creel, of the class of 2012. Let's give them a warm round of applause. And a rousing shout of Jimaloyo also goes out to the many old collegians who have joined us here in the OCC as we acknowledge the formal start of Reunion 2022. On the 3rd of August 2019, as our present sixth formers were coming to the end of their winter sports season of third form, our school and its tribe of old collegians gathered on Reunion Day. The coronavirus put paid to the reunions of 220 and 221. But tomorrow, for the first time in 2.5 years, the old collegians of one of the oldest and proudest old boys associations in the country are going to gather together for their reunion day. As these young men of the red, black and white don their blackened boots and take up the cudgels against our visitors from over there, up on the mist belt. For many old collegians, the return of this much cherished weekend is a highlight on the social calendar, with many old boys returning to college from distant lands to share stories and perhaps a few amber beverages with their schoolmates from long ago. But my observations over the last few years lead me to believe that no one relishes and indeed cherishes Reunion Day more than the boys themselves. So let us begin the start of our much cherished reunion weekend for 222 with this ceremony today, and I call on Ngubo, the Deputy Head Prefect, to read today's lesson, to be followed by the sermon by Old Collegian Reverend Colin Moore. Thank you, Ngubo.
Good morning, school, staff, and most importantly, the old collegians. This morning's reading is taken from Acts 1, verses 6 to 11. Therefore, when they had come together, they asked him, saying, Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? And he said to them, It is not for you to know times or seasons which the Father has put in his own authority. But you shall receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses to me in Jerusalem, and all of Judea and Samaria, and to the end of the earth. Now, when he had spoke to them these things, while they washed, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. And while they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, behold, 2 men stood by them in white apparel, who also said, Men of Galilee, why do you stand gazing up into heaven? This same Jesus, who was taken up from you into heaven, will so come in like manner as you saw him go into heaven. May you please bow our heads as we pray. Heavenly Father, May you please bless our school as Reunion Day is upon us, and those of the past and present reunite once again. May you please make this a memorable reunion as we rejoice in your name. Pater Noster, quaes in Chelis, Sanctificator, nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, zicet in cielo et in terra, pane nostrum quotidianum da nobis odie, et debita nobis debita nostra, zicet tec nos dimittis debitoribus nostrit, eg nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo, quae cim is regnum, potentia et gloria in saecula saeculorum. Amen.
Well, good morning, everyone, and as always, I thank you for this wonderful privilege of being able to share with you in this way. I'm so fortunate to be here today, and I'm definitely going back to my colleagues, and when they ask where I've been, I'm going to say, no, I've just been taking an assembly with Jesse Creel. Jesse Creel and I, we do things together. In our Christian calendar, yesterday marked the end of Easter as we celebrated the Ascension. Of all the Christian feasts or holy days, Ascension is perhaps the most awkward. We know how to celebrate Christmas, and we kind of understand Easter, but Ascension is just weird. We're not quite sure what we're supposed to do. For 40 days after Christ rose from the dead, the resurrected Jesus appeared to many different people on a number of occasions, but then he promised the disciples that they would receive the Holy Spirit, and he returns to the Father. And so on Ascension Day, are we supposed to celebrate Jesus leaving us? Now, there's a whole lot that I could say about Jesus ascending. Like, the word ascending is misleading because Jesus didn't jump into a cloud like a God elevator and check out of earth, and now he's somewhere up there in the sky, or like a star or something. No, Jesus returns to God, and rather than being present physically, confined to space and time, he now reigns as Lord of all creation. He is the Christ, the one through whom all things live and breathe and have their being. At Ascension, rather than going away or becoming more distant, Christ is in all things. Christ is even in you. But that's a long and involved sermon, and probably best given on Ascension Day. Today, rather, we celebrate Reunion Day. And I'd like to focus on something a bit more practical that we come across in the Acts account. So all this time, Jesus has led the disciples. He's displayed miracles, he's taught them, he's pretty much dictated what happens next at every step. Let's go here, let's do this now, let's cross that lake, let's go to Jerusalem. They've seen Jesus feed thousands, they've seen Jesus heal the sick, they've seen Jesus raise the dead, they've seen Jesus being raised from the dead. They've seen him walk on water, they've seen him argue with leaders. They've seen him stand up for the vulnerable. They've done it all with him. But the time has come for the disciples to grow up. For their further development, Jesus needs to step back, and he needs to let them, allow them space to figure things out on their own. You see, responsibility cannot be taught. You can't learn responsibility in a classroom or on a YouTube channel. Responsibility has to be given to you. You have to be given the scary task of having the buck stop with you. So we didn't realize it at the time, but one of the joys of being at school was that so much was done for us. You get told that you must learn this, you must go there, you must do this lesson, be at that practice, show up for that match, pick up that litter, cut your hair, pull up your socks, study now. So it's busy, And hopefully, when you're at school, you're working hard, but you don't feel responsible for things. If the class doesn't happen, well, okay. If it's raining today and we're supposed to meet outside, it doesn't matter. Someone else will figure that out and we'll just go wherever we're told. So you can gain a lot of knowledge at school. You can learn new skills and become proficient in music or language or sport, but you don't grow up until you take responsibility. To be made responsible for something can be daunting. Your first reaction might even be to avoid it or to run away from it. Like the disciples, they are so bewildered by Jesus giving them responsibility, the responsibility of sharing the gospel with the world, that they're left staring blankly up at the sky. They can't believe that Jesus has done this, that he would leave, that he would put them in charge, give them the driver's seat, give them the reins. But that's exactly what Jesus does. His being there, doing everything, and making all the decisions would stifle their further growth and their maturity. So, as I look at the assembly here today, I notice quite a difference in the crowd. There are those of us still at school, and there are those of us not quite at school anymore. And there's a big difference between us, and it's not just that some of us are skinnier than others, or that some of us wear more colorful blazers than others. I think this thing that separates us is our responsibility. So to the young men still in school, I would like to say to you, don't shy away from responsibility. First, take charge of your own life. You must be the person who is answerable for your life. But more than that, take the opportunities that present themselves where you are able to be responsible for something other than just yourself. Where you can be in the care of your class or your team or your school or your family or your neighborhood. Stop being a passenger. Don't be a tenant in your own life. Own who you are and own where you are. To the not so skinny men here today, those of us who have long ago left school and either willingly or unwillingly have tasted responsibility. The older we get and the more responsibility we take on, we also need to learn how to trust. Every older generation's gripe is, the youth of today. And I was talking to someone just now and they said, what year were you here? And I was 95. And he said, I was 1 year old then. Makes me feel old. But we always complain, the youth of today. In the Ascension account, Jesus displays such amazing humility and trust for the next generation. If we want the next generation to be trustworthy and responsible, we have to, at times, know how to step back and let them have a go. Even though they might mess it up and probably do it completely differently to the way we would have liked it done. They can only mature if we let them have responsibility, if we allow them to be responsible for things. And the older I get, the harder it is, I'm finding, to do that, to let things go. But there's nothing worse than a CEO or a head or a captain who never gives people the space they need to figure things out for themselves and to enjoy success and endure failures for the decisions that they've made. So as we reunite and gather in celebration of the school, this place in which we were given the opportunity to cut our teeth, may we be inspired to take more ownership of who we are and the places that God has put us in. But may we also now, with gratitude, be humble and trusting enough to use the influence and the resources and the power that has been given to us to give others a chance. Maybe there's even a person who comes to mind now for you, that you could just let them have a go. May Jesus, the Christ, the ascended one, also ascend in our hearts. And may the God of all things bind us in love to him and to one another. Offer this to us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Moore. Speaking of CEOs and captains and responsibility, the headmaster will now address us on a number of issues relating to Maritzburg College, following which Mr. Stickles will lead the jazz band. Headmaster.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen, and especially the old boys who've made the effort to be here, and our invited guests, our special guests, Mr. Andrew Clayton, our president, Mr. Mike Hill, former teacher and OC, Reverend Moore, thank you for that lovely message, OC Rugby World Cup winning Springbok, Jesse Creel, and Modisi Safumi, and Jesse and his year group are celebrating a 10-year celebration. Welcome back as we celebrate the 125th Old Boys Reunion with you. Unfortunately, it is an assembly as well, so the old boys can switch off for the next 5 minutes. I just need to talk about a few things pertaining to the school, but most of it is positive. We are pleased to announce a number of promotion posts, which we haven't had the opportunity to do so as yet. These are all internal promotions, and I believe today is the ideal time to do so. So it is my pleasure to announce all of the following internal promotions. HODs, HOD of Leadership, Mr. John O'Tyler. The HOD of Learner and Wellness and Pastoral Support, Mr. Letu Shongwe. HOD of Prefects, Mr. Omar Kaji from Term 3, and he'll be taking over from legend Mr. Sutherland, who many of you will know. B Housemasters, Shepson House, Mr. Tselo Zuma, who is an old collegian. His deputy is Mr. Simon Stickles. And the Day Housemasters in Calder House, Mr. Adam Usher, these are from Term 3. Mr. Nicholas Cruiser in Forder House from Term 3, Mr. Sui Suwila, Lemon House in Term 3, and Mr. Swelishle Makwanazi, who's also old collegian for Papes. And then subject heads, accounting, Mrs. Liesel Kempfer, for history, Mr. Chris Neve, and phys ed, Mr. Alan McGugan, who happens to also be an OC. Please join me in congratulating all of those staff. Well done. Right, on to reunion. The theme of this week is camaraderie. We have a theme of every week. And if you're ever interested in wanting to see what that is, you can go on the website and see the weekly theme and the newsletter which contains the theme. And this is demonstrated aptly by all the events arranged for our OCs as they celebrate reunion after a 3-year hiatus. This is a very special week in the life of the school, but more so for college. This week we will see literally hundreds of old collegians from all over the world descend on college to renew old acquaintances, and I was fortunate to attend the 1982 gathering last night and to reminisce about days gone by, sometimes slightly skewed view of the past and how good they were as rugby players and so on, and celebrating 159 years of history and their 125th. There are several activities occurring, such as the very successful golf day yesterday. I didn't know golf finished at 1 o'clock in the morning, but anyway. Bowls this afternoon, and luckily the weather's been kind to us and it's warming up. Basketball at 2 o'clock on the outside courts. Soccer on the Alan Jackson fields behind us, AB Jackson. And various year group gatherings, which will culminate in approximately 600 OCs at the reunion dinner tonight in the Alan Payton Memorial Hall. And I know that I think the 1970 and 71s will be in the Vic Hall tonight as well. And tomorrow we have a special chapel service, wreath laying ceremony, memorial wall acknowledgements, reunion lunch in Victoria Hall, and a hockey and rugby fixtures versus Hilton. It also happens to be Hilton's 150th year. Let them remember this very well. Just moving on to the boys, and this doesn't apply to the old boys. May I ask that you ensure that your personal appearance, from your hair to your shaved faces to your uniform, is spick and span. You're all reminded that you need to wear your number ones, that includes your blazers and basher, and that the environment is litter free. That your manners continue to be impeccable at all times, and that we welcome our OCs with open arms, literally. Whilst supporting on Basher Ridge, please do not jeer any actions by players or the referee at any time, and focus on supporting and encouraging your teams. And let us not have any sort of behavior that happened down in the Cape when my old school managed to beat Bishops, and that I won't say anything more about that. We won't be entertaining anything like that. A reminder of the key fixtures that you can support. Please come out, please come out in numbers and support these teams, especially for the sixth form in their final reunion. Of course, they've missed out on 3. Today, First 11 Soccer versus the OC, I've mentioned that, on the AB Jacksons at 3:30. First basketball team also versus the OCs at 2 o'clock. Saturday, the hockey is at 10:10 on Papes and 3:20 on Goldstones. We are very fortunate in OC Mark Jerry and others who have allowed us to have those games televised live. Am I right, Kevin, Mr. Smith? So those of your colleagues, friends who can't make it, they can then watch it in the leisure of a lounge. To the boys again, you will all one day be OCs, and believe it or not, you will all have some, hopefully many treasured memories of college, and will want to come back and share those with your peers. Let this 159th year be a memorable occasion for them, and that they will continue to be proud of their alma mater. In the words of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States of America, who fought for the abolition of slavery, I like to see a man proud of the place in which he lives. I like to see a man live so that his place will be proud of him. Pro auris et focus. Thank you to all the OCs for their attendance here today.
Mic check. 1, 2, 1. Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on a tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. when you shine. You know how I feel. Sense of a mind. You know what I mean. Oh, freedom is mine. And I know how I feel. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life. It's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I feel so good. I feel so good. Ooh, ooh, ooh,
Wow, that was terrific. And just to point out to the old collegians that are here, it's good to see that Maritzburg College continues to produce Renaissance men, because amongst the saxophonists, I noticed, just as examples, a tearaway flanker from the under 14A rugger side, and then also a hard-hitting ball carrier for the first 15 and the Craven Week side. So well done to the boys. Let's give them another round. The Maritzburg College Old Boys Association is one of the proudest alumni associations in the country, if not in the world. Founded in 1897, it has had 45 past presidents. The 46th president is a chartered accountant from the fairest Cape. Please welcome to the lectern Mr. Andrew Clayton from the class of 1991.
Thank you, Mr. Marwick. The headmaster, and I'm very, very pleased to see our patron is wearing our Old Boys blazer today. Senior Deputy Headmaster, Mr. Marwick, college staff, Mr. and Mrs. Hill, Mr. Safime, Mr. Creel, Reverend Moore, distinguished guests, past presidents, honorary life members, and fellow Old Boys, and gentlemen of college. It really is an absolute privilege to be here and to be so warmly welcomed back as Old Boys. And I can tell you all Old Boys absolutely cherish this very warm welcome. After so many years of no reunions, to be here at this reunion weekend and celebrate our 125th year, which is a really, really monumental and special occasion, it really is very special. As college looks forward to its 160th year next year, we can take stock of ourselves, both the boys and the old boys, and be immensely proud. And we are all interconnected and mutually dependent. Our legacies are entwined with that of our country, and college boys develop into men who are men of note. Our core principles of self-discipline, commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and above all honesty are ingrained into us from second form, and they mold us into citizens that South Africa can count on. And if ever there's a time that's needed where these men count, it's right now. South Africa really needs these strong men that are bearing these very good and noble, distinguished characteristics. This country really needs us. So there's an important process going on here at college that follows us through into life. Our reunion weekend as Old Boys descend from far and wide is taking place obviously tomorrow and through Saturday. And I challenge you scholars to think a little of your years ahead and think what it will mean to you to be an old boy. How will you want to enjoy a reunion when you are an old boy? How will you look back 50 years from now and reflect on college. My wish is that your experience will be what we as old boys experience and how proud we are to be college old boys. And may I say and add in here, this morning's jazz band, absolutely phenomenal. I'm absolutely stunned once again by what college produces. And I can honestly say, back in 1991, this just did not exist. It really didn't. The talent is just amazing. And obviously we always expect big things on the sports fields, but I'm very, very aware, and we do as old boys, do keep up with what college is doing in the academic arena and across all the different facets of social activities and all the different things that college do. And we are very, very proud as old boys. I can tell you that absolutely from our heart. And so when you leave college, may I say you'll be warmly welcomed to college old boys. And as you continue your journey as college for life and it starts to mature, there is a strong network that will be there to open business doors for you via the College Connect initiative that spans across old boys, so the school, parents, teachers, and friends of college. Last night, like Mr. Lumen mentioned, he went to the class of 82 function. I stepped into the class of 72 function at the Victoria Country Club, and they were celebrating their 50-year reunion. And I was absolutely amazed to see, one, how many old boys had returned for that 50-year reunion, and the bond and the stories and everything that goes on there was just phenomenal. And we can honestly say that our old boys are flourishing, and the passion that's shared for college, the school, is never stronger. Your journey through life will no doubt be filled with ups and downs and interesting events. That I can assure you of. And what I can also assure you of is that your mates you make right here at the heart, here at college, will be the mates that will navigate this journey with you and will have your back. Such is the bond. Enjoy your reunion weekend, and if you are playing sport, play hard, play fair, and play by the book, and play to win. But above all, have fun. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to acknowledge a number of long-serving staff members, each of whom has given no less than 30 years service to Maritzburg College. I'm sorry, Mr. Clayton, I'm going to have to ask you to come back up again. I'm going to read out the individual citations, upon which I'll ask that staff member concerned to come up and to receive their certificate and their gift from Mr. Clayton. All right. Our first recipient today is Mr. Darryl Trod, the Iron Man of the staff room. Mr. Trod is an experienced and dedicated educator who has taught both physical science and natural sciences. He is a committed teacher who has provided subject leadership as the subject head of physical science for many years. Darryl is a no-nonsense kind of individual, and he expects his students to be accountable and to take responsibility for themselves. However, when a student makes an effort, Darryl will do all that he can to assist. He is a gentleman, and his main focus in his life is his family, of whom he is very proud. As a very talented and versatile sportsman, he enjoys competing and achieving at the highest level. Mr. Trod, thank you for your 31 years service to Maritzburg College. Please come forward, sir, and receive a certificate and a small gift from the Old Boys Association. Thank you, Darryl. Our next recipient is, I'm told, not here. She is a private lady, and I would suspect that the limelight and the microphone have kept her away from us today, but we will pay tribute to her nonetheless. Mrs. Cindy Sumangal is a most gracious and giving person. She is a calm island in a sea of turmoil. Nothing is too much for her, and she willingly goes the extra mile. A true friend and trustworthy confidant, Cindy lives her faith, and she is an example to many, never saying an unkind word about anyone. Underneath that cool and calm surface, however, is a very strong woman of integrity who has overcome many obstacles in her path. A devoted mother, Cindy's love and care for her own family, as well as her extended family, is noteworthy. A much-loved and valued member of the Life Sciences and Natural Sciences Department, we are truly privileged to have had her devote her entire working life to our school. Mrs. Sumangal in absentia, thank you for your 40 years service to Maritzburg College, and we will present you with these certificates privately, but let's give her a round of applause. Right, our third recipient. Just checking, there he is. Right. Baba Tulekwazi Lawrence Masiko joined the Maritzburg College staff in October 1982 as a humble member of the cleaning staff of the Estates Department. He was then a young man in his mid-20s, and he joined his late father on the college staff. Together, these two Masiko men have given nearly 60 years to the school. Mrs. Parker has worked alongside Bab Ndlamkomo in the admin department, especially in admissions, for more than 25 years. She tells us that, and I quote, "He has a sharp eye and picks up even the smallest of admin errors that others have missed. He has a wonderful sense of humor and is a devout family man and adoring grandfather. He is a hugely valued member of our admissions team and has been a warm and generous colleague for all these decades. We pay tribute to a dedicated, humble, and kind human who has worked quietly and without fuss amongst us for so long in the service of our school. Babin Joli, thank you for your nearly 40 years service to college. Please come forward, sir.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lawrence Tulekwazi Masiko, Mjoli Umdlankomo. Mr. Moki, you know about Umdlankomo. Thank you to all the staff for this recognition of many long service. I give thanks to God, keeping me strong to 65 years old and for guiding me through 40 years working here at Maritzburg College. Thank you to all the staff who guided and assisted and supporting me in my work over many years. In my office, I have a Komboti and 1818. Mr. Sutherland, can you show me your hands? Because Mr. Sutherland knows about this Komboti and 1818. If I'm finished here, we go with Sutherland, mixed up the komboti and put the 1818 inside, and the nice stuff. Yes. I like to say thank you, all of you. Thank you, bless you, thank you.
I'd like to invite Lawrence's family up quickly, please. Can we take a quick photo, Lawrence?
Okay, yes.
Welcome.
I'm sorry, I want to, my family, this one, come and join me, Father. I like it. All this is my family. This is the firstborn. One person is not here. All this my family. That one is the lastborn. That one is the lastborn. All this my family. Thank you to give me this.
Let's go and have a photo over there. Let's go stand there. Bring your Right. Thank you very much, Bob Lawrence. Right, the Deputy Head Prefect Mtimkulu will now address us on the formation of the Old Boys Association 125 years ago, after which the choir and the school band, under the direction of Mr. Stickles, will lead us in the school song. Mtimkulu.
From Maritzburg High School to Maritzburg College to Maritzburg College. 3 different names with the same hearts, the same passion, and the same pride in one school. And it was with this pride that led to the birth of the Maritzburg College All Boys Association in the year 1897, which is a brotherhood that we, as a class of 6th Form 2022, will be inducted into in a few months' time. We give many thanks to the pioneering efforts of this elite association, particularly those of 3 men of vision, the then Headmaster, the great Mr. R.D. Clark, the first president of the Old Boys Association, Sir Henry Bale, and as well as Mr. Ernest Holgate, an Old Boy and teacher. Gatherings of all collegians have come a long way since the inaugural dinner in the supper room of the Old Town Hall on the 11th of January 1897, with all boys meeting in France in June 1916 before the Battle of Somme, in a prisoner of war camp in Germany during World War II, and even on ice in Antarctica, with chats often starting with the mere question, day boy or border. Maritzburg College is home to many unique traditions, the famous cheese zom, and of course, the most important meeting in the college calendar, Reunion Day. 2 years ago, we lost a feeling that has brought goosebumps the Monday of Reunion Week. The feeling of your blood racing on a cold winter's evening on Clark House Quad for Friday night shouting. The feeling and emotion you felt when your shirt goes under your pillow the Friday before a game. The feeling of the true Maritzburg College. Tomorrow on the field, we honor all the old collegians who have walked past these walls individually, bell by bell, yet have left with their hearts bounded as brothers. We honor with a plaque on the wall of remembrance Sir Henry Bale, a noble son of college. And best of all, we honor the pride of Maritzburg, the red, the black, and the white. 3 long years we have waited for the hearts of A.B. Jacksons to be reborn, for the spirits on Pape's astro to be relived, and for the passion on goldstones to echo across the field. To Maritzburg College, to the All Boys Association, we as college boys pledge to always strive to be the very best, to play with hearts and fire, and to never give up and never say die. College is college because of the boys. College is college because of its brotherhood. College is college because of its passion. College is college because we live for the red, black, and white. College will forever be the pride of Maritzburg. For those who love the school, will realize what it is to be one of us. And as long as we then realize, we will never go extinct. Our field of gold, time and again, ignites our hearts, both boys and men. And we have returned from whence we roam, always for the glory, for heart and home. Prayers at focus.
Please be seated. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not lacking for emotion at the moment, and I have to tell you, there's going to be more. So I'd like to call upon another Deputy Head Prefect, Shongwe, to come up and speak further on this topic of reunion. Thank you, Shongwe.
Good morning, Mr. Lumen, President of the All Boys Association, Mr. Clayton, honored guest, staff, and of course, the heart and soul of college, the college boys. Reunion Day. Once a year. At the glumps of a soon arriving cold winter morning, where many start to shiver thinking it's the weather, but in fact, it is the awakening of a long-awaited reunion week, a time when all boys come back to a place they call home. Tomorrow, we celebrate a prestigious day in the Maritzburg College calendar, where college boys and all collegians reunite at this amazing oasis of excellence. We college boys get to reunite with all collegians who have walked through these corridors that are lined with the walls that echo to our cries, the walls that bind the hearts of men. We get to see and talk to our older brothers and hear their stories of their college days. All collegians have returned to relive their experiences and revisit the memories of the school. They've come to see their fields of gold and soon to be Hilson's heart of stone, Clark House, and the long-awaited taste of his arm. We have missed this. The whole of Maritzburg has missed this. College, we have missed you. It's about time. Just like branches of a tree, we all grow in different directions, but our roots remain the same. College is our home. The red, black, and white is embedded in our DNA. It's amazing how quickly time flies. It feels like yesterday I was in second form, always arriving in class sweating from running away from Zeus, throwing our bashes as high as we can, waiting for our bashes to come down, only to realize it's stuck in a tree. Arriving at Goldstones with a full voice, with a lot of heart, and leaving without a voice, but a lot of pride in our school. We haven't had reunion for almost 3 years, and it's safe to say 60% of the school hasn't experienced a Maritzburg College reunion. The last 3 years has thrown up challenges, difficulties, and disappointments. But the way I see it, this is a rebirth of a new legacy. This gives us an opportunity to create our own passion and our own definition of the red, black, and white. Always remembering, the more college changes, the more it stays the same. We show the old boys, the parents, the whole of Maritzburg, what we mean by saying, once you got the taste, you'll never ever hesitate. The boys from up the hill bleed black and white, but when they step foot on Goldstones, we'll add a bit of red, and we'll show them there's only one college, and they know. So when you step on that field tomorrow, hockey, rugby, or any sporting field, always remember, we don't only do it for the badge or the boys. We do it because it's the college way. Winning or losing doesn't define us. We know who we are. We know where we belong. Forever we'll be the best, because victory is the only thought, the only thing that we've been taught. Even when earth has taken back to earth, college will forever be the pride of Maritzburg. College is in us, and we are college. Pro Auris at Focus.
Stirring words indeed. Thank you, Mr. Shongwe. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to ratchet down the tone a little bit for now. And I'm going to ask that the head prefect of the 50-year reunion group from the class of 1972, Mr. John Larkin, comes up to read the roll of honor of old collegians and staff members who've died in the last 12 months. And I'd like to add that Mr. Larkin has traveled to Maritzburg from Boston in the USA to be with us this weekend. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Matthew. Good morning, everybody. It's so nice to be here. I actually remember being here a little while back, same size room. This is a long list, so I'm going to suggest people remain seated while I stumble through the list, and I apologize in advance for names that I garble. and then at the end we'll stand for a minute of silence. D. MacLeod, 1946. A. Jacobs, 1946. B. Liesgang, 1948. R. Pepworth, 1950. J. Curry, 1951. R. Gower, 1952. H. Abramson, 1953. Professor R. Nicholson, 1955. B. Liggett, 1955. P. Lestrange, 1956. Q. Pereira, 1957. B. van der Breed, 1957. G. Banks, 1959. N. Allen, 1959. M. Smith, 1960. D. Kaywood, 1961. P. Powell, 1962. D. Buttermere, 1963. A. Brains, 1963. Dr. S. Mobbs, 1965. C. Watt, 1965. N. Slevin, 1965. L. O'Connor, 1966. G. Cullen, 1967. Lieutenant Colonel P. Smythe, 1968. B. Rowley, 1970. R. Jackson, 1972. A. Colenbrander, 1972, Ducks. Lieutenant Colonel G. Warden, 1973. M. Steele, 1974, Ducks. M. Christie, 1976. T. Murphy, 1983. G. Dukes, 1983. A. Lister, 1985. G. Blakey, 1990. T. Chajai, 2004. B. Mbanjwe, 2011. P. Shizwa, 2011. M. Matulani, 2017. B. Sanders, 2017. And also to staff members, Dr. Scotch Ferry and / Esprit. I'd ask everyone to stand for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Larkin. A short while ago, we realized that with the extension of Nicholson's Field and the addition of a new rugby field, we had the opportunity to honor one of the great servants of the school. On the eve of the 125th reunion of the Old Boys Association, it is right and fitting that the person whom we honor today, Mr. Mike Hill, is a proud product of our school, having matriculated 61 years ago. I ask that the Deputy Head Prefect Kirsten addresses us and pays tribute to Mr. Hill, after which the school choir under the baton of Mrs. Stickles will provide us with a musical item. Thank you, Kirsten.
As we all know, Maritzburg College has traditionally had 7 main sporting fields. 4 on this side of College Road, and then 3 on the other side of the road. The expansion last year of Nicholson's Field has meant that we have gained another field, which for the last few months has been simply known as Nicholson's 2. Having consulted with the 3 gracious daughters of the late, much-loved Mr. Nicholson, the school has received a blessing to formally provide that field with a name of its own. And so today, we are able to recognize and honor the most distinguished son of Maritzburg College, Mr. Mike Hill, who gave 38 years of distinguished service to his alma mater. Admission number 6656, Mr. Hill began his college career as a nervous second form boarder in 1957. Having arrived at school from Howick Prep, After university, he returned to college in 1968 as initially a maths and geography teacher, and then as the first teacher of biology when that subject was started at college. Over time, he also coached the first 11 cricket side from 1980 to 1984, guided boys on the rugby field, was an admired rugby referee, and filled with great distinction the post of senior deputy headmaster under the headmaster, Mr. R.D. Ford. In 1997, a tragic accident crippled his son, James, which meant that Mr. Hill left full-time teaching. Although he continued as a part-timer at college, he and his family put their lives together again. Mr. Hill, the dedication that you and Mrs. Hill have shown in your special circumstances and the amazing courage of your son have continued to fill the college community with admiration and indeed awe. You, sir, are a proud son of Maritzburg College, and as the old collegian who has served the school for the longest, it is most worthy and fitting that today, on the eve of the 125th reunion of the Old Boys Association, we are able to honor you in this way. Your name will live on at college forever. Please come forward and receive this framed citation from the President of the Old Boys Association, and kindly read the citation over the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, and boys, Mr. Mike Hill.
This is indeed a huge honor, and I thank the Maritzburg College management and the Old Boys who were consulted, and also the Nicholson family for allowing this field to be named after myself. I'm very pleased to have my wife and one daughter here. Sorry. My son in the wheelchair is at work, and he was asked to come here, but he declined because he said this is a very busy time in the morning. He's a director of a vet pathology business and has never looked back after his injury. He's always looked forward. He did his master's in veterinary, he had qualified as a vet, and he then did his master's after his accident in vet medicine, and is now, as I say, a director of a vet pathology business. I'll just read this citation. Maritzburg College and its Old Boys Association herewith recognize and honor Michael Stuart Hill, class of 1961, for his 38 years distinguished service in his alma mater as a pioneering teacher of biology, esteemed coach of the first 11, and distinguished senior deputy headmaster. And we herewith confirm that a rugby field across College Road shall, in honor of his sorry, haven't got glasses on, of this gentleman, oh, that's worse now. Thank you. Of this gentleman of loyalty and honor henceforth be known as Hills, presented in front of the staff and boys at the special reunion assembly on Barnes. It wasn't on Barnes, it's in the Cultural Centre on this 27th day of May 2022. I was expecting to speak on Barnes, so I thought, well, I don't have anywhere to put notes, so I won't have notes. So bear with me if I do sort of stammer now and again. I think as a boy in your 5 years at college, and a lot of you sitting back there, it could be much longer, you have played on most of the fields. I was never a great sportsman at college. Most of my sport was played on papes, both rugby and cricket. And it was a matting wicket, and it was the sort of 5th 11, or rugby, it was anywhere. So when you leave college, there is a field that you feel probably more affiliated to, more enjoyable. Maybe you scored a century, maybe you scored a few tries. Athletics, you did something. So there is a field that you enjoy. Now, when I left college in '61, we only had 4 fields. Fields across the road hadn't yet been, well, they had actually been leveled for, I'm not sure exactly when they were started, but certainly when I came back to teaching, they were in existence. And then they were called Hudson's, Lammonds, Leeches, or Hudson's then became Nicholson's. Lammonds and Leeches, I remember as being, if you played rugby on those fields, you knew you were going to be sore after it, because it had little worm casts, those big earthworms which seem to have disappeared, become extinct. But they left these little worm casts there, and they hardened in the sun, and they were worse than little pebbles. So boys that played rugby on Leeches and Lammonds in those days knew that they'd been in a rugby game. I was fortunate enough to coach the first 11, so Goldstones obviously has lots of memories for me. As a rugby coach, I coached on virtually all the fields, and the one I probably enjoyed most was Barnes in the years that I took the under 15A and B, and that was our field. And Barnes in those days wasn't as soft and as pleasant to look at as it is now. The grass was battling to make its way through very small, should I say, small depth of topsoil, because it had been used as a field without grass for a number of years. So it was quite a hard rugby field, but my boys enjoyed it, and we enjoyed playing other schools on that field, although the under 15A played as a curtain raiser to the first in those days on Goldstones. So that had pleasant memories. I must mention Hudson Field in my tenure as first 11 coach. Michaelmas week, I think it was 1961, maybe 62. At Michaelmas week, for some reason or other, the Saturday, we couldn't use the fields that we normally use, so we had to try and, Snows in those days was a matting field, so it was not used. It can be used nowadays. So we used Hudson's for Michaelmas week. And the first game, college were going to play Grey College on Hudson's. And Grey College had a chap, see, I should have written it down, Gerbrand Grobler. Now, Gerbrand Grobler was a fast bowler, a really fast bowler. And it was almost from the side of the field that he had to run with his run-up. It wasn't really long enough for him, but he was still fiery fast. And I think college batted first, and we got to 160 odd. There was no 50 overs in those days. It was declaration. I think we got to about 168 or so. And then we batted, then they batted, and we managed to hold them, and we drew the game. But that brings back memories, because Hudson's is not really suitable for a first 11 game, or wasn't. But it was enjoyable. Barnes, we played Queen's College, we had a festival at the beginning of the season at Alex, and they used our fields, and we were selected to play Queen's on Barnes, and it rained the night before. In those days, we didn't have covers. So we looked at the pitch with the Queen's coach, and he decided, no, look, we should be able to play. So we spun and we won the toss and put them in. We got them out for 20. And then we won the game by 8 wickets. But those were the days that you enjoyed. There wasn't the formalities that go on nowadays. I feel very honored to accept this naming of the Nicholson second field as Hills, and I'm proud to say tomorrow I've got a grandson playing in the under 15D, and they are playing on Hills. So his name is not Hills, he comes from one of my daughters, but I'm very proud of it. And I thank you all, and I hope to see a lot of you this evening, this afternoon, at bowls, which is one of my favorite games at the moment, and then tonight at the dinner. Thank you, everybody. Pro RSET focus.
Sanbonani, ololo, ololo, sanbonani, ololo, ololo, sanbonani, ololo, ololo, nisapilanje. Sanbonani, ololo, ololo, sanbonani, ololo, ololo, sanbonani, ololo. Sapilanje. Sanbonani no keni sapilanje. Hey!
Bravo to these young men and Mrs. Stickles. Thank you for a most stirring rendition. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk some football now. The first 11 has enjoyed a very successful season thus far today, and the young men in that team proudly each week don the red, black and white and play the beautiful game, bringing honour and distinction to Maritzburg College. Only 2 months ago, we were able to honour old collegian Bandile Shandu of Orlando Pirates, up the Bucks, for his selection for Bafana Bafana. And we can only imagine that his selection for our national team, following on from Ryan Moon only a couple of years ago, is a great inspiration for all colleges footballers. 2 weeks ago, that proud old collegian from the class of 2010, Mr. Modise Sifume, a fire-eating attorney from Johannesburg, offered to sponsor the jersey. A former boarder in Clark House, Mr. Sifume was a no-nonsense prefect and a hard-running, I recall, winger for the third team. He is being intimately involved in the affairs of the Old Boys Association, and despite his relative youth, we look forward to his continuing to play a leading role in its affairs in the future. So it's my great pleasure to ask Mr. Sifume to come forward and to present one of the new jerseys to the captain of the first 11, Mdletshe. Please come forward. Very good, sir. Well done. Mr. Mdletshe was injured on the battlefield in the service of the school. And I'd like to add that the first 11 played against St. Nicholas only yesterday and won 3-0. And they'll be playing against an old Collegians 11 later on today. And I think it might be boasting one of those international players. So if you are available later on this afternoon and you haven't been tempted by the bowling club, please go and have a look at those two sides as they fight it out for reunion weekend honours. Right, we're now approaching the end of the ceremony this morning, and I ask that the senior border prefect Mbonambi, that he comes forward and introduces our next guest speaker. Thank you, Mbonambi.
Good morning, Mr. Lumen, staff, old collegians, invited guests, and school. It gives me great pleasure to introduce OC of 2012 and current rugby Springbok, Jesse Andre Creel. Some of his schooling background. Jesse Andre Creel was born on the 15th of February 1994. Jesse is the twin brother of Dan Creel, as well as the older brother of Matt Creel, who also attended Maritzburg College and played first 15. Jesse and Dan are both professional South African rugby players and are the great-grandsons of John Hodgson, who played 15 games for the British Irish Lions in the 1930s. Jesse and Dan entered college from Merchiston Prep in 2008. He was a boarder in Nathan's, then in Clark's, where he was a very popular and a much admired prefect. He was renowned for not just his dedication, but his passion and his loyalty to the red, black, and white. He matriculated with his twin brother Dan in 2012. He was the first 15 vice captain and was awarded honours for rugby. He represented KZN-Natal under 18A and 7's SA schools in 2012 at fullback and captained against Lions. In his final year, he was awarded the Olivier Trophy for Player of the Year in the first 15. He was also a very talented athlete, winning the 100-meter open title at Sports Day. These are some of the testimonies about Jesse Creel. To say that Jesse is a very committed young man is an understatement. His work ethic during school vacations and long after practice had ended was an inspiration to all young sportsmen at the school, and his attitude and motivation were of the highest order. Jesse is a true gentleman who is helpful, friendly, and courteous. His recent achievements. Jesse is a Springbok number 867 who made his debut in the Rugby Championship in 2015 and scored a try on debut. He has also represented his country throughout the age groups via SA schools and SA Under-20. Currently, he is a professional rugby union player for the South African national team and the Cannon Eagles in the Japanese Premier League. He is a utility back who can play center, wing, or fullback, and was part of the national team who won the Rugby World Cup in 2019. To date, he has played 51 tests and scored 60 points. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Jesse Creel.
Good morning, Mr. Headmaster, beloved staff, and men of Maritzburg College. It's both an honor and a privilege to be addressing you all today, and it's so special to be back at this wonderful school. Let me start off by my address by sending our condolences to the Hilton boys and community who sadly lost a friend last week. Men of college, many years ago I stood in your shoes, and I must confess that I'm extremely nervous today. It has been a while since I've had to read at assembly, and I'm so glad that I didn't have to say the Lord's Prayer in Latin. College is a special school for many reasons, and today I'll briefly address you on some of my fondest lessons and something in particular that I developed during my time at this great school that has been invaluable since leaving college. I learned in life and in sport that everything you want is certainly worth fighting for. If it comes easy, it's not worth having. During my time at college, I quickly realized that I was surrounded by people who would outwork me and outthink me if I sat around and did nothing with my time here. This consequently developed a dogged determination and focus, which I still rely on every single day. It developed and cultivated something called grit. I'll sum up what grit means. Grit is possessing indomitable spirit, having a drive for achievement regardless of your upbringing or situation, earning success in the trenches through hard work. And this is the spirit of a Maritzburg College boy. He never gives up, even in the face of insurmountable challenges. I'm eternally grateful to have learned this lesson and developed this over the 5 years I spent at this wonderful school. And it has aided me in my rugby career and, more importantly, in life, where I have faced tough opposition and a lot of criticism. Reunion Day is upon us, and as everyone has mentioned, it's an unbelievably special weekend. To the boys who are not playing any sport tomorrow, and to the boys who will be attending the game because it's compulsory, to you I say that I've played in sold-out stadiums across the world, and there are very few crowds that are as energizing as the college boys in full voice. Tomorrow, you gents need to bring the noise. To all the boys who will be assisting with various functions and duties throughout the day, your contributions are very valuable and we thank you. To the old boys, we cheer and celebrate our boys no matter the result. Finally, to all the boys doing battle tomorrow, and in particular the first team rugby and hockey, I've heard that Hilton are bringing their best rugby and hockey sides in their history to our beloved Goldstones and Papes. They will not be the first to bring decorated sides to Goldstones and Papes, but we will make history of our own. The mandate is clear, boys. When we pull our jerseys over our head and vow to play our best tomorrow, There will be no retreat, no surrender. College wins again. Thank you.
On behalf of Maritzburg College, we'd like to thank you for taking your time to come out, Mr. Creel. Please accept this as a token of our appreciation.
Let's read this. Okay. Maritzburg College and its Old Boys Association herewith recognize and honor myself, class of 2012, for his selection in 2015 as Springbok 867, his selection for the Rugby World Cup winning team of 2019, his attainment in 2021 of his 50th Test cap for the Springboks, and his off-field demeanour and bearing as a proud product and worthy son of our school, presented in front of the staff and boys at a special reunion assembly on Barn, over here. So, on this 27th day of May, 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jesse, for those fiery and passionate words. You've brought great credit to your old school and its Old Boys Association, and we salute you. That concludes the stirring assembly, ladies and gentlemen and boys. We're now going to gather together in the sixth form quad for our traditional reunion day war cry with the old collegians in the middle. But before we do that, I'd just like to take this opportunity to wish all our sportsmen at all sports tomorrow the very best of luck. Enjoy your special day tomorrow, boys, and do your best. That's all we ever ask. So while the boys gather in the quad, we will now take a few photos of the guests of the Old Boys. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, I ask that we put our hands together for all the people that have made today's special assembly possible, especially those people who had to work very fast and very fervently this morning to change the venue from Barnes. We think of the estates team, the college business team, including the Old Boys, and the marketers, the sound, the musician, the choir. Thank you very much. Let's give them a round. Thank you, boys.